My name is Beatrice Crona. These are 3 key documents that anyone interested in impacts on nature and biodiversity can go to. You will find them listed on the FinBios resource page as well. It's the Global Assessment Report on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, which is produced by the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, IPBES, which is equivalent to the IPCC for biodiversity. It's also the descriptive review on the economics of biodiversity and a joint report by the IPCC and IPBES. To understand how biodiversity is linked to well-being of societies and specifically economies, you need to understand that biodiversity is not just about a number of species. It is the diversity of all living things, and that entails diversity within species, so genetic diversity, but of course also between species and between different types of ecosystems. However, biological communities are becoming more and more similar to each other in both managed and unmanaged systems within and across regions because of how we are trading and introducing new species. So what, you might ask, what is really the problem with having a few high-performing species in a system, or similar ecosystems across an entire region for that matter? After all, retaining diversity, we know, can be inefficient and therefore costly. But here's why. Most agricultural industrial scale cropping systems rely on one or only a few species. But these monocultures are highly susceptible to pest outbreaks, storms, drought, basically any kind of disturbance to which the particular crop is not adapted. Forestry is one example, but a similar logic applies for production of most raw materials that serve as inputs to almost all value chains in our economies. Okay, Swedish forestry. It's dominated by spruce and pine, but spruce is highly susceptible to drought. And when it's stressed, the spruce also becomes vulnerable to insect outbreaks, like the bark beetles that are currently causing big problems across the industry in Sweden and elsewhere. Biodiversity in this context is important because different species have different tolerances to different kinds of disturbances. So spruce will burn easily. It's also easily stressed and susceptible to insect attacks, as I said, and storms under some conditions. Pine, on the other hand, much more fire resistant, but susceptible to moose grazing, which is what has driven large-scale forestry, at least in Sweden, away from it and towards monoculture, so for example, spruce. Deciduous trees with leaves, like birch, they burn less intensely, if at all. Now, I'm giving you these details to illustrate a key point, that species or ecosystems have different tolerances to different kinds of disturbances. And so to uphold the function of delivering a particular service to our economy, whether it's timber or pulp or something else, we need redundancy. And redundancy is equivalent to an insurance policy. When one species or ecosystem is negatively affected by a disturbance, another one can step in and still maintain that relevant function. So, for the same reasons that investors diversify risk through a broad set of investments to ensure financial returns, now and in the future, maintaining biodiversity is actually a risk management strategy for an increasingly uncertain future.